Chapter 1. Routines.
Are you listening, Riley?
The crusted pan slipped from my hands. Sloshing, soapy contents tipped over the sink and soaked my t-shirt with lukewarm water. I cringed at the sticky feeling on my stomach and shut off the faucet. Sorry. What? Tammy chewed the side of her tongue as her current boyfriend, Chad, heaved another suitcase out the door.
I asked if you wanted something from the strip, a postcard, keychain, whatever.
I grabbed a dish towel from the counter. No, thanks. I'm not really a souvenir person. Her heavily lined eyes flicked to my mostly bare bedroom across the hall.
No kidding.
Ignoring that, I pressed the towel against my shirt. You guys have fun in Vegas, though. Go easy on the slots. Rent's due next week. A shrill giggle bubbled from her throat. It hurt my ears.
Don't be such a downer. You have absolutely no faith in me, girl.
No, I did not. We'd been roommates for 3 months, which was 3 months too long. Between the drinking, smoking, mood swings, constant stream of boy toys, and the thing that annoyed me the most, her moldy piles of dirty dishes, I'd realized that some people truly were raised by wolves, or hyenas, or some other equally obnoxious creature. Not that my upbringing was stellar, but at least I knew how to keep the goddamn kitchen clean. Tammy handed another suitcase to Chad. He grumbled something, but she batted her eyes and he left without a word. Despite her, well, everything, her ability to get what she wanted was impressive. There had to be a girl manual on that somewhere, one I'd obviously missed. It sure came in handy with the landlord. She flipped her hair over her shoulder.
Last chance?
I shrugged. I'm good. Thanks. Chad sauntered back into the room and waggled his watch with an exasperated sigh. Come on, babe, let's go. We won't get through Utah at this rate. Tammy snatched her purse from the battered plastic card table in the kitchen.
God, chill, we'll be fine. See you later, hun. Keep the parties under control while we're gone, okay? Don't piss off the cops again.
My teeth ground together as I folded my arms. I'd been at work for Tammy's noise complaints and didn't know it was a problem until a red-faced neighbor yelled at me last week in the mailroom. I didn't point this out. The sooner we stopped talking, the sooner she would leave. Sure, you got it, I said. Drive safe. Be careful on the roads. She swung on the door.
God, Riley, you say that every time we leave. What's your deal?
It's a long drive. Just be careful. She rolled her eyes.
Yeah, like we're gonna die in a fiery car accident. Lighten up.
My arms tightened across my chest. Even months later, the burning smell of disinfectant and formaldehyde still stuck in my nose. Harsh fluorescent lights still spotted my vision. The flaky slabs of charred flesh at the coroner's office flashed across my eyes in a millisecond. I blinked them away. Today was going to be one of those days, wasn't it?
Oh, by the way.
She slung her purse over her shoulder.
Cameron said something for you got mixed up with his mail again, a box or whatever.
Chad grabbed a drooping duffel bag, giving me a once-over as he followed Tammy out the door. They descended the rickety staircase to the parking lot, Tammy waving her arms. Even that was patronizing.
Bye, hun,
she wailed.
Don't have too much fun without me.
I waved back as they got in the car. They pulled out of the faded parking space onto the road, horn blasting all the way. I heaved a sigh as their tires screeched out of earshot. Leaning on the railing of the balcony, I closed my eyes. Silence. Blissful, uninterrupted silence. It was peaceful for a Saturday. No cars, no crowds, and no ambling shoppers passed by the shabby apartment complex. Jackson was a tourist town, so the weekends were usually the busiest. Tour buses, school trips, and families on their way to Yellowstone came in droves during the summer. But it wasn't summer yet. My mom called this time of year tulip time. Not quite winter, not quite spring, but stuck somewhere in the middle, like a bulb coming up through the soil. Spring would be a nice change, but I was always sad to see the winter go. Things were quiet in winter. Things were slow and peaceful and easy. At least, they used to be. This winter had been different. A dumpster fire. Even though I was splitting rent in the shittiest apartment I could find, it was still a struggle to survive. My jobs as a dishwasher at a local diner and at a tree nursery during the day didn't cut it anymore. Sometimes I'd get extra hours cleaning houses or weeding some rich person's garden back in the hills. It still wasn't enough. I exhaled in a rush and counted in my head. December, January, February, March? Was it March already? It must be because April's rent was almost due and I had no clue how I was going to make it. How had it been 4 months since the accident? I felt like I'd grown old and died a dozen times over. So much had happened since then. So much had changed. Then again, it felt like nothing had changed at all. That was the saddest part. I remembered the day I got the call. I remembered I had gotten ready for work and drove through the snow to the tree nursery. I remembered going through my first shift in a haze, walking to the park across the street so I could have some quiet while I forced down a sandwich. I remembered collapsing onto a bench, having no idea what was different about 12:04 p.m. and 12:05 p.m. The difference was this. At 12:04, I still had a family. At 12:05, I didn't. Then came the call. A deputy from the Winnemucca Police Department explaining, somewhat indifferently, that my parents were dead. Hit-and-run accident, he'd said. From what the paramedics had pieced together, my parents had been driving down a lonely stretch of highway in Nevada when another car clipped their back bumper. They rolled into a ditch and ruptured the gas tank. "It was a miracle we pulled the bodies from the wreck," the deputy had said with a chuckle. "They were so fried it's a wonder they didn't come out in pieces." The police never found the other car. It had been a blur ever since. A nightmare. Besides losing my only living family, every cent I'd saved since high school was gone overnight. Funeral expenses, my parents' debt, and other loose ends wiped out their meager bank account, then spilled over into mine. In a strange way, that was good. The stress of survival didn't leave time for grief. I hadn't had time to think about it, really. In fact, I hadn't even cried yet. I kept waiting for some kind of realization to hit, but it never arrived. All I could think of was how cliché the whole situation was, how scripted it seemed. Accidents like that, they didn't happen. Not to regular people with regular lives, anyway. What were the odds? I rubbed my itchy eyes. A deep pounding thumped against my skull. I didn't sleep well these days. Not that I ever did, but since the accident things had gotten worse. At least I didn't wake up screaming anymore. Which was why one of the roommates of my last apartment, not so politely, asked me to move out. Until I moved, they avoided me like a disease, as if they were worried that spending too much time together would somehow increase their chances of personal tragedy. Which, considering the odds, maybe they had a point. So I found this place. It boasted 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, black mold in said bathroom, a raging roach infestation, and the monetary value of a water-soaked cardboard box. Tammy may have been annoying, but she saved my ass by splitting the rent. Finding another roommate with equally low standards for living had proved difficult. A cool gust of wind rocked the line of aspen trees across the street. The quaking neon green leaves twisted and sputtered but didn't fall. A hunched man in a long coat rolled a cart of groceries down the cracked sidewalk, the broken wheel squeaking in erratic bursts. In a few minutes he wheeled himself around the corner. The squealing noise echoed off the nearby buildings. At least Tammy was gone. At least it was quiet. Maybe not so quiet for you. My stomach clenched. It was definitely going to be one of those days. How's the orphan life treating you? Shitty. Great. You ready to pull the trigger yet? No. Not even a little? Leave me alone. Nah, I don't think so. Think I'll hang around, maybe for the next 50 years? God, can you imagine still being alive in 50 years? Go away. No, me either. Girl, let's face it. No one else cares if you're alive. What exactly are you sticking out for? I massaged the side of my aching head. The stupid voice in the back of my brain had been there since high school. It had started small, an occasional comment every few months. Then it got louder. Much louder. Sometimes it would be silent for weeks, and just when I'd think it was gone, it started again. Was it real? Was I imagining it? Was it my voice, or was it something else? I never knew for sure. I wished I could afford a psychiatrist so they could figure it out. Hey, you're on the second floor. Jump off. If you don't fuck it up, you'll die before the paramedics get here. Shut up. Make me. I pushed myself away from the railing and headed inside my apartment. I should finish up those dishes. That would be productive. Productive was good on days like these. I picked up the still wet sponge and turned on the tap. The rank smell of mold from Tammy's pile wafted toward me and I gagged. After turning the faucet all the way to hot, I waited for the lukewarm water to fill one side of the sink and squirted in the last few drops of soap. Everything was so crusted and dried it had cemented the plates and utensils together. They needed to soak. Stepping back from the sink, I chewed my lip. Busy. Had to stay busy. Okay. Tammy mentioned my mail got sent to Cameron's apartment again. Odds were it was from my mom's best friend Molly, who'd taken it upon herself to organize my parents' storage in her spare time. Every few weeks she'd send me some sentimental trinket she'd discovered. A toaster from my parents' wedding, my mom's sewing kit, my old practice binder for piano, and so on. They either went in the trash or got sent back to storage. I stuffed my keys into my pocket and shut the door behind me. Cameron's apartment was one below mine, and since our apartment numbers were similar, our mail got mixed up all the time. The somewhat pudgy, middle-aged man seemed too happy whenever it happened. Usually I avoided walking past his door, or even parking close to his car, but I couldn't leave the package there, even if it was destined for the trash. I shuffled downstairs and pressed the buzzer beside his door. A moment of silence passed before it swung open. Beady eyes stared at me from behind the frame. Cameron smiled and unlatched the chain. His blotchy button-down shirt matched his tobacco-stained teeth. "Good morning, Riley," he said. "What can I do for you on this fine day?" A sour smell covered by an unreasonable amount of Axe body spray wafted through the air. The babble of a news channel inside showcased a day of remembrance for the Rome terrorist attack a few months prior. I gave him a polite smile. "Morning, Cameron. Tammy said our mail got mixed up again." He nodded, leaving my view, returning with a small square box in his hands. "You sure get a lot of packages from this lady." He held it out to me. "What are they all for?" I reached for the box. "Just stuff." He paused, keeping hold of the package. "Why don't you come in? The game's on soon, we could watch it together." I tugged on the box. He held on. "Sorry," I said. "I'm busy today." "You always say that. How busy can a... How old are you?" 19. His tongue flicked against his cracked lips. "Well, you can't be that busy. It's almost like you don't want to see me." He stepped forward. "Come in for a bit." My grip tightened. "Sorry," I repeated, shrugging. "Got a lot of stuff to do." He puffed out his chest. The stains on his shirt stretched as he stared at me. The look in his eyes made me nauseous. Blood pounded in my ears as my heart thumped painfully against my ribs. Yanking the box out of his hands, I moved away. Thanks for the package. I'll see you around. I turned toward the stairs, but a sweaty hand clamped onto my wrist. Hey, I told you to... My elbow reflexively shot back. It collided with something hard, crunching against it. Prickly pain spread across my elbow. The grip on my wrist loosened and I wrenched it away, stumbling down the hall before glancing back. Cameron grunted a strangled noise, cupping his hand around his nose. A stream of blood dripped through his fingers. Crazy bitch! He shouted and slammed the door. I slowed as I turned the corner. A bitter taste crept from the back of my tongue. The bones in my wrist ached behind fingerprint-shaped blotches. I closed my eyes and tried to shake away the feeling. It reminded me of high school. It reminded me of the winter ball. Or rather, after the winter ball. The dark parking lot. The cold. It reminded me of being scared to speak, scared to breathe. Sometimes I wanted to pour bleach into my head and let it wash everything away. Every memory, every ghost of bruises left by someone who moved much faster than I did. The shaking lessened after a few minutes, but the painful pumping of my heart didn't. Poison coursed through my body, the dragging weight pulling on every bone. The same feeling since high school. The same feeling that preceded the voice behind my brain. A feeling that had become so familiar to me over the last few years settled deep into my being. A feeling I hated more than anything. You should call the cops or something. Shut up. Yeah, who'd believe you anyway? And you broke the guy's nose. He can probably sue. Taking a deep breath, I shifted the package under my arm and shuffled up the stairs. Not that he'd get much from you. Would you give it a rest? I will once you're dead. My foot caught on the chipped concrete. I gripped the railing. Breathing was so much harder than it should be. These stairs were so much steeper than they should be. If I was dead, would it get easier? Would anything be easier? Only one way to find out, Riley. I released the railing, trying to leave behind the shaky tiredness that followed my every step.